Hi, hello, and welcome back to my channel, Hexes and Horrors. My name is Ashley, and today we're talking about the best spooky season spots in the Northeast. So we're starting out with close to my home where I grew up in Westchester, New York, and that is Sleepy Hollow, the first spooky season spot in the Northeast. Sleepy Hollow, New York is a part of Westchester County. It's right on the Hudson River. It's about maybe half an hour north of New York City, Manhattan. And I grew up not far from there, so I have been there a few different times. And I even lived there for a year with my husband. So I was able to experience Sleepy Hollow in all seasons and obviously in October. Sleepy Hollow is a super fun spot. There's lots to do there. You can do a day trip there, a weekend trip there. It is a great spooky season spot in New York. Moving on from Sleepy Hollow, we are going about 3.5 hours northeast up to Salem. So, Salem, Massachusetts is a huge popular spot for October. They run haunted happenings every October. If you're watching this, you know about Sleepy Hollow, you know about Salem. So, those are two great Northeast spots that are not super far from each other, definitely driving distance to check out during spooky season. Also in Massachusetts, we have Fall River, which is the former home of Lizzie Borden, Lizbeth Borden, and you can visit the Lizzie Borden Bed and Breakfast there. There's also a new coffee shop that opened up next door. I think it's called Miss Lizzie's Coffee. You can stay overnight at the bed and breakfast, or you can just do a day tour. And then if you're going there, I also recommend kind of just taking a little drive through the historic part of town. There's some beautiful houses there. So the Lizzie Borden Bed and Breakfast in Fall River, Massachusetts. All right. Next up, we're staying kind of in that New England area, not far from Salem, Massachusetts. We have Hogan's Cider Mill in Connecticut. Hogan's Cider Mill is in Burlington, Connecticut, and I've never been to Hogan's Cider Mill, but I do plan on going this fall. It looks like a super cozy little cider place, orchard. I don't really even know because I haven't been, like I said, but I have seen a lot of people's pictures from there, and it looks like a really fun spot to go. Get some cider, some donuts. So I can't wait to check it out. Let me know if you have been to Hogan's Cider Mill and what I can expect. Staying in Connecticut, we have the Lake Compounce Haunted House. I have been there, but not since college. But I do remember it was a really good haunted house. So I'm sure it's still the same. I've heard a lot of good things about it from recent years. So I think it is still a pretty good haunted house. I just don't live close to it anymore. I used to go to school in Connecticut, so it was easy to get to back then. But I went with a bunch of friends, and it was really fun, really scary, I remember, and really, what's the word? I want to say interactive, but that's not the right word. There was a lot, like very obstacle like. So you had to go through tunnels and crawl for parts of it and climb up steps and ladders. It was like very much like an obstacle course, which I love. So I thought it was really fun. That was a very cool aspect of it that a lot of haunted houses don't have. It's usually just winding hallways that you're walking through. But this one had a lot of different elements to it in terms of walking, crawling, climbing. So I loved that. Then we have, still in Connecticut, the town of East Hampton, Connecticut, not the East Hamptons in Long Island, East Hampton, Connecticut, which is also called Pumpkin Town, USA, or there's a pumpkin patch there called Pumpkin Town, USA. It looks like a really fun place. I'm going to check that out this fall as well, or at least that's the plan. Next up, we are going back kind of towards Sleepy Hollow to Ulster County, New York, to the Headless Horseman Haunted House. Now, this haunted house is not in Sleepy Hollow. I feel like it should be. They've been running for a super long time. I've been there many times because it was probably the closest really, really good haunted house to where I grew up. So it's Ulster County, which is, I don't know if it's considered the Catskills, but it's basically up there by the Catskills. It's near kind of like Saugerties, if you know the area. But that haunted house is the best haunted house I think I've ever been to. They have several different houses that you go through during the haunted house. So it's, starts with a hayride. You go through a bunch of different houses that each have a different theme. And there is always a headless horseman chasing the hayride. So that's really fun. They change it up every year in terms of theme. They do it up really well. It was always worth the trip up there because it was a bit of a drive, because each house that they had would take a while to get through. The length of the entire night that you were there and of each haunted house was definitely worth it. I didn't feel like it was a short experience or like it was a waste of money. So, the Headless Horseman Haunted House in Ulster County, New York. Then going back down towards Sleepy Hollow. I don't know why I did it in this order. This is just how my brain was working. But we have the Great Jack-o'-lantern Blaze. So this is about 20 minutes north of Sleepy Hollow by car. So if you're visiting Sleepy Hollow, Great Jack-o'-lantern Blaze is always a good thing to add on to your trip. They also run the Great Jack-o'-lantern Blaze on Long Island, though I'm not sure exactly where on Long Island, but you can check their website. The one that I have always been to is in Croton on Hudson. All right, next up is New Jersey. This event is called Hauntoween, and I went to it last year, and it's more of a family-friendly event, I would say. So it starts during the day, and then at night, everything's kind of lit up. It looks really cool. There's a trick-or-treating section. There's some different vendors and food and blow-up slide, a carousel. It was very kid-friendly. I probably wouldn't even recommend it for adults after going myself. I would recommend it for children and for families. But it's called Hauntoween. It is in New Jersey, and last year was the first year that they put on an event. It was pretty cool, but I don't think I would go back again. If you have kids, Hauntoween is a cool one to check out in Jersey. Then heading into New York City, we have Webster Hall. I'd like to put this one in because they have a great Halloween party, Halloween bash, especially if you're younger, if you're like college aged, or you just like to go out to clubs. Webster Hall, my friends and I did when we were in college for Halloween night. It was super fun. It is like a club night, a very large club night. Webster Hall is a pretty well known venue in New York City, and they always host a Halloween event. So if you're near the city, if you like to go out to clubs, Webster Hall is a fun one. Also in New York City, Manhattan, we have House of Spirits Soiree. This one was really cool, and I have not been back since the first time I went, but I would love to go back. It was really fun. So my husband and I went to the House of Spirits Soiree in 2021, and it was a secret location. It was run by Fever. So if you know anything about Fever, they, partner with different companies to put on different events and host them. And sometimes they have secret locations, so you don't find out where you're going until maybe the week before. This was one of those, so we had no idea where the event was. We just knew that it was in the city. It ended up being in a ginormous old mansion, I guess, that was abandoned. It was so weird because walking around New York City, you see buildings that look like this all the time from the outside. It just looked like a giant stone rectangle, like nothing. I wouldn't think anything of it if I walked past. I would probably think it was an apartment building. Um, Huge stone building with just a small entrance that any apartment building would have. But when you went inside, it was a mansion. There were these gigantic stone staircases, these grand, giant rooms. It was crazy. Um, so yeah, it was in a huge abandoned mansion. I don't know what they use that space for when it's not Halloween season, but it was so cool inside. I'm not even talking about the event itself, just the space was really cool. I wonder who lived there once upon a time. They had complimentary drinks offered, different things going on each floor of the mansion in each area. So the bottom floor was like the welcome area, you had the bar, everything was very dim lighting, a lot of like up lighting in different colors. They set the mood really well. There was also a bar on the second floor where you could grab a drink. Oh, they had these really cool immersive experience rooms where you went into maybe 4 different rooms with a small group of people, and you had a task to basically crack a code, solve a puzzle, and once you did, you could move on to the next room. So that was really fun. I remember they would set up different scenarios where there would be items on a table, something else on the other side of the room, and you had to use the clues that were in there to move on to the next room. So that was super fun. So that is House of Spirits Soiree. Super fun event if you get a chance to go. They hold it in New York City, and I know they have one in LA. I don't know if they have any other locations. Still staying on New York City, we have the Madame Morbid Trolley, which is in Brooklyn. It is a trolley that runs during spooky season, and they take you around the borough of Brooklyn and give you some haunted and true crime history. That one was really fun. I lived in Brooklyn for a short while, and I still go there fairly frequently. And it was really fun to just find out all this stuff that I didn't even know about Brooklyn. I love true crime, obviously. I love haunted history, obviously. So that was a really fun tour to take. The trolley is kind of decked out for Halloween. There's like a fog machine on it. There's some spider webs and skeletons and things. And the hosts who run the tour guides, are dressed in like Victorian era, I don't want to say morning clothes, but just Victorian era costume, I'll say. Next, also in New York on Long Island, we have the Haunted House of Hamburgers. This is a restaurant, a spooky restaurant. I heard about this place from, it might have been my cousin. She lives on Long Island, so maybe it was her. But either way, a bunch of people I know on social media have been there and have posted about it, and it looks really fun. Then, not far from the Haunted House of Hamburgers is the Amityville Horror House, so if you are in that area, you can hit up both places. Next, we have Halloween House. This is an indoor Halloween experience, and they have several different locations throughout New Jersey and Pennsylvania. I'm not sure if they're located anywhere else, but it is an indoor experience, like I said, and you go through a bunch of different rooms that are decorated for Halloween. I have not been, but I have seen pictures. It looks really fun. They have some blacklit rooms, different themes going on. It looks fun for kids especially, but I feel like it looks fun for adults too. I would go to something like that. All right, next we have a couple Philadelphia spots. So first is Halloween Nights at Eastern State Penitentiary. So Eastern State Penitentiary is a former penitentiary. You can tour the building, get some history on it, but they also run a haunted house during October. It is supposed to be incredibly haunted. I haven't done the haunt, but I'm hoping to do it this year, so I will let you know how that goes. Then also in Philadelphia, we have Tinsel. Okay, so Tinsel is a holiday pop-up bar in Philly. They definitely do Christmas, I know that. And then for Halloween, it's called Nightmare Before Tinsel. Get it? Then they also do some sports themed pop up events, pop up things. I know they're doing one right now for the Philadelphia Eagles, or most recently they did, I should say. So they switch things up depending on the season, but I'm hoping to check out the Nightmare Before Tinsel this year. All right, heading back over to New Jersey, and I'm sorry, this is all over the place. I should have absolutely separated it by state, but this is just the way my brain is working right now. That's the way it works most of the time. Just so back over to Jersey, we have Camp Crystal Lake. Now, this is the Boy Scout camp. I think it's called Nobi Bosco, where Friday the 13th was filmed, and other parts of it were filmed in the town of Blairstown, New Jersey. The diner is there. There's a couple other things there from the original film. And they usually have special tours and events in October, especially for Friday the 13th, and there is a Friday the 13th in October this year, 2023. So I've heard that they do a screening of the film every Friday the 13th. I don't know how true that is. Maybe it's every Halloween. I heard it was Friday the 13th, but I haven't really found anything online about screenings. But I do know the diner does special events for Friday the 13th. They have some actors and actresses from the film actually come out and do autograph signings and things like that. So if you check the Blairstown Diner, you'll probably have some information on what is happening for Friday the 13th. I don't know if they're going to be giving tours of the actual campsite and the filming sites on that day. That information would be at crystallaketours.com. I did tour the filming sites over the summer, I think 2 summers ago. It was good. It was fun. It was definitely cool to see the original spots that really haven't changed since the movie was filmed. I did think that for the price, they could have done a lot more with the tour, but I'm assuming that they maybe could not because it is an active Boy Scout camp and people are going there over the summer. So I don't think they can do too much in terms of changing or altering the space. But I did think that some other elements maybe could have been brought in to make it a little more fun. Then we have Night of Terror at Creamy Acres Farm in Mullica, New Jersey, I think is how it's pronounced. In Mullica Hill, New Jersey. This is a haunted house. It's supposed to be a really good one. Have not been to it, but I've heard really good reviews of it, which is why I put it on this list. Also in Connecticut, we have Old Wethersfield, Connecticut. I went here during summer once and I'd love to go back for fall. The town is very cute. It's an historic town. They have an incredibly old cemetery there. And for October, the town really goes all out for decorating. It looks really fun to walk around in fall, drink your little pumpkin coffee or whatever, and walk around, feel the breeze, look at all the decorations. That is Old Wethersfield, Connecticut. And heading up to Maine next, we have the Mount Hope Cemetery in Bangor. Some vampire history. If you like cemetery exploring, you can check out Mount Hope Cemetery in Bangor, Maine. Then heading down to Virginia, we have some ghost tours. So if you're in the area of Richmond, Virginia, you should definitely take a ghost tour. There is a lot of spooky haunted history in Richmond, Virginia. I have not been since I was a teenager, I think. So I guess I need to head down to Richmond, Virginia and check out those ghost tours. Whew, okay, that's a lot of spots. If you have any other spooky season spots in the Northeast, please let me know in the comments what they are. I know I have missed a ton of them. These are just the ones that I personally have been to and plan to go to and have heard of. I know there are a ton of other ones, so let me know what spooky season spots in the Northeast you love and put them in the comments for me. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you get to check out some of these East Coast spooky season spots this season and let me know how it goes. I'll see you next time.